everyone. This is Maria Shell, and it is time for Witchy Wednesdays at 1 o'clock. What's up? I'm just going to give a couple of seconds here to see if anybody wants to hop on live with us today as we talk to our special guest speaker, HeidiBeth Abney. Yay, HeidiBeth.
Hey.
Thank you so much for joining me today. We'll just allow a couple of seconds and see if anyone wants to hop on with us. Oh, looky there. I need to close that. It's trying to put me on as a guest on my own show.
Oh, no.
I don't think that's gonna work out.
You're the host.
Yeah, exactly. It'll let me, but I'll get all kinds of echo back and forth, and then it's a circus. So all right. So I'm just opening up my phone to see if I get any comments on here. People joining us live. I see at least one heart out there. So we are live. Thank you everyone for joining us today. Witchy Wednesday, the 22nd of February, 2023. Today we are speaking with HeidiBeth Abney. HeidiBeth is the founder of the Runestone Heathens of Southwestern Ohio, and she is joining us today to talk about her path, her passion, and what she has going on by way of her magic and her time and energy that she puts into forming community here in the Southwestern Ohio region. So thank you, HeidiBeth, for joining me today. It is an honor and a pleasure to have you.
Oh, and the same right back at you. It's absolutely an honor to be here with you. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to join you.
Absolutely. And in full disclosure, HeidiBeth and I have known each other for about 4 or 5 years now.
Yep.
Maybe you can tell them just a little bit about how we met and came to know each other in this way.
Well, we have some mutual friends, and they had talked to me about attending one of Baba Yaga's rituals. And so we all went as a group together, and I met you there, and we went to several of your rituals, and you know, it's just I think you were probably one of the first public things that I ever actually did, because I've been solitary for a long time before that. So
yeah, honestly, you know, a lot of people are out there practicing solitary, thinking that they're out in left field somewhere.
Yep.
Or maybe they don't have a connection in their small community that they can really find support from. So that is one advantage to this digital age, is that we can actually reach out and support people further than we can physically reach in the amount of time and space that's available to us, right? So
absolutely.
Yeah. So why don't you tell us a little bit about how you came to find your individual path?
Sure. So I was, just like a lot of people, raised varying flavors of Christian, and got married very young. And when I was pregnant with my second daughter, I started wondering what was right. So I was about 22. I had been exposed to pagan and animistic ideas most of my life, because I have an aunt. Well, my aunt has passed since then, but I had an aunt who was a medicine woman. And so I had the benefit of having that, but it wasn't something that I got to actively participate in until I was an adult and made the choice myself. And I decided that I was having this child, and I no longer wanted to believe in something because of fear, that I was afraid not to believe, that I wanted to find something that I could believe in that actually felt like home. Yes. And so I began investigating animism, and I walked a solitary eclectic path for a very long time. And then when my youngest child was in college, if you'd asked me about it, I would have always been open with you what my path was. I would never have said, oh yeah, I'm Christian, just to not make waves. But I didn't aggressively pursue being out in the community or anything, because I had concerns about repercussions with my job. I had concerns about repercussions with my children's father, my first husband. So I kept things quiet and lived my life quietly. But then when my last child was getting closer to graduating college, I went, I now can totally step out and not worry about it anymore. And the rest is history. I found Butler County pagan gatherings, and I totally loved and immersed myself in getting out there in the public and trying to make it a safer place for anyone who was pagan to find connection and feel more comfortable. I felt like it was, since I had lived so quiet and privately for so long, I didn't want other people to feel like they had to do that. So I've worked to try and make it more available to others so that they can be more comfortable stepping out of the broom closet. Through the course of that, I met my current husband, Roger. I met him through Butler County pagan gatherings.
Who's a fantastic guy.
he's an amazing man. He's the co-founder of Runestone with me.
Yes.
We started it together, and he was Norse Wiccan. So as he started looking more into actual heathenry as opposed to Norse Wiccan, I had a dream. And if you talk to a lot of heathens, you will find out that a lot of them have had some version of this dream where Odin comes to you and says, you need to be focusing on a different path. And literally for me, he gave me a rune in my dream. And he told me that if I continued to follow the standard path that everyone followed, I would never find what I was looking for, that I needed to get off the road and get out into the green. And
nice.
So yeah, I know it was
yeah, when the gods and goddesses come to you, they are not messing around. There's always a very clear message.
And it was, and I had been hesitant to step into the heathen world because there is this misperception that it is very masculine and that there isn't a lot of room for femininity. So I had been concerned because I had spent 24 years at that time completely goddess focused. I worked with gods, but goddesses were what I focused on. And so now here I am stepping into this, what I perceived as a masculine realm. And I discovered absolutely the most wonderful women. Some of the founding members of the relatively shortly lived heathen church here in the United States, they're women. They've been practicing for 40 years. They've written some of the seminal works on what we use to inform our modern practice. And that just, I went, oh my gosh, yes, finally, I feel like I'm home. And Odin doesn't stick with most of us. When he gets us over into the heathen path, he kind of goes, okay, now off with you, go do your own thing.
Yes.
But he got us in, and we just took off running from there. So that's how I found my path.
That's wonderful. I think there are a lot of people who will be glad to hear that that there is not as much going on in coming out of the broom closet that you think it may be. I think you work it up a lot in your own mind, telling yourself other people's stories of how they're going to respond to your coming out, right?
Yep.
And so it is a very good thing when they have other examples of people who have stayed in the closet out of concern for their family, for their children, for their career, and to know that they did come out and their life is still intact and their kids are still well pulled together, and
yes,
and that they have abundance and opportunities in their life, that it wasn't an end, it was a fresh beginning.
Oh, it was so much more than that. It was absolutely finally owning my life's purpose.
Yes.
And that's, it's been, there have been heartaches, there have been difficulties, but not related to being pagan, related to shaking off the chains of that I used to bind myself. So it's for me, it's been freeing, and the ownership of my own spiritual path has opened me up, and it has changed fundamentally the course of my life. I still work a normal job, just like most people have to, but my normal job isn't all that I do. My normal job exists Monday through Friday, 7:30 to 4.
Right.
And then I spend the rest of my time focused on my community, because what my mission in this life actually is to provide inclusive, safe access to people who want to find out about heathenry, Asatru, Norse paganism, Norse Wicca, whatever flavor that is for you, because there is another misperception in the broader pagan community, that, and even in the non-pagan community, that those who practice Asatru, unfortunately, there are some that are white supremacists.
Right.
And we end up getting lumped in with all of them. And so it is my mission to break that stain that we have on what is an incredibly beautiful faith path that provides for full richness and gives you everything that you could possibly want, if that's the path you're called to. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not a proselytizer. I don't believe in that. What's your path is yours. What's my path is mine. But if you're interested, but you've been held back because of those misperceptions, I wanted to provide a place where you could feel safe and comfortable learning. And so that's what Runestone Heathens is. And then the second part of that whole mission is taking that need and desire that I always had to advocate for women, and providing them with more opportunities, more comfort as well, in being part of a religion that had been misconstrued to be mainly male and Viking, which those things are sexy and exciting, but that's not what the religion is.
Hollywood rarely mirrors the truth of what these paths, alternative paths, look like on a daily practical level, right? The magic is no less like wonderful and astounding and miraculous than they portray in the films. Certainly the transcendence of our understanding of those miracles is no less profound, right?
Absolutely.
But there's a lot of misrepresentation, old school misrepresentation, I think, that gets carried forward as fact. And recently I discovered that, the true meaning of a belief is only something that you tell yourself until it becomes a fact in your mind, whether it actually is based in truth or not.
Yes.
So, that is one of the things that we struggle with, I think, is switching gears on the beliefs that we have been fed versus the beliefs that are true to us and our divine nature.
Absolutely.
I think it's absolutely beautiful that you are providing a safe space in which men and women can come and gather and celebrate heathenry and Asatru and Norse paganism. And we have actually quite a few Norse pagans of various descriptions in Southwest Ohio. So it seems to be timely and needed fit for the area. So
absolutely.
And I understand that currently your group is private. Can you explain why that is and sort of your vetting process?
Sure. Because we do have that problem with people who have views that are not inclusive, views that are very racist, we have chosen to keep the group private simply so that we have the opportunity to review an individual's profile to make sure that there isn't anything in there that could be damaging to the group as a whole. And we ask a few questions, simple things like, can you follow the rules? You realize this is an inclusive group and you're willing to not argue or bring anything that's racist or homophobic or anything like that into our group. And as long as you can meet those things, then you're welcomed in. But we keep it private because of the need to provide that safety. Now we go out in public and do public things. We post about what we do publicly, but in order to become a member, there's no cost or anything involved, but you just have to agree that you are willing to be supportive of those who don't have exactly the same beliefs as you.
Right.
And the other part of it is, heathenry is often called the religion with homework, because we are a Reconstruction religion. Asatru and heathenry are a Reconstruction religion. Norse pagan and Norse Wicca are not. They are more modern constructs that use a Norse pantheon as the basis for their practice, whereas heathenry and Asatru and Vanatru and Rakatru, all of those, we attempt to reconstruct the beliefs of the pre-Christian, post-Proto-Indo-European peoples of the Germanic tribes and the Northern European tribes. So we do so by the use of what we call the lore, which are the sagas that were written during after that time about the people who lived during that time. We have the prose and poetic Eddas that we use. We also use archaeological findings. So we're all geeks. We all spend a lot of time researching all of that.
Sure.
And that is done in an effort to, as close as we can, reconstruct what those practices would have been like, while accepting that we live in modern times and everything from our climate to the requirements for daily living have changed. So we bring those forward and attempt to make something that, if there had been continuous practice through the past 1,000 years, what would it have looked like? So we try to make it something that our ancestors would recognize, but not know was exactly the same, because there's just no way to fully recreate it. So we use a lot of UPG, but we also use the lore. And when people are new, sometimes that's intimidating to them. So I wanted to make sure that Runestone was a safe place for people to ask questions and learn, so that they could determine whether or not it was for them and feel comfortable in asking those questions. Because if you ask two heathens a question, you're going to get two very different answers every time. Heathens are incredibly independent. We all like to do our own research, do our own reading, and it's encouraged, but we're never all going to 100% agree. We're using a dead language to recreate things. So we have to learn the language, and we have scholars who do that for us, but every one of us does at least a little research into what the language that the lore was originally written in is consistent of.
Right. Well, and I think, had it been a contiguous practice for the last 1,000 years, then certainly there would have been changes and improvements to the tools and the understanding and the concepts of the practices of those adherents that brought them into the modern era. So I think it is a good blending of ancient and modern tradition to conceptualize, okay, we have this basic tool that existed 1,000 years ago. How would that have morphed into something that is useful and productive in today's society?
Absolutely.
And still honoring, some of the more literary and artistic works in their pure form, to as an offering to those who came before us on that path, right?
Absolutely.
So yeah, I think it's a good blend, and you have the right processes, the right energies in place to bring that forward.
We're in our 5th decade now as a religion. So we're at that. One of the writers, Patricia LaFavel, she says in one of her books that we're at that awkward teenage acne phase of heathenry.
Yes.
Where we've gotten through the infancy, we've established some practices, but now we're having all the groups go off and rebel and say, no, I can do it this way and I can do it that way.
Yeah.
So we're
well,
at that
and you guys
way.
are really, that path is only about 10 years behind modern eclectic Wicca, right?
Yes.
Which is like now in its 20s, theoretically, we're fully an adult that can make our own choices. It's just, will our choices be great ones, you know?
Yes. And a lot of the
knows
founders,
in our 20s we can stir up enough trouble for 3 people, right? So,
and a lot of the founders of the Troth, which is the primary organization in the United States for the practice of ossuary and heathenry, they were Wiccans before they found this path. So yeah, they started out with that as their basis and built from there. So
yeah, I think a lot of people do start with like basic magical practices, Wicca, paganism, like as an umbrella, right?
mm-hmm.
And then they have a personal experience at some point that pulls them toward a particular tradition or culture. One could never hope to understand fully all of the elements and aspects of living a magical life in one lifetime. So thank goodness we get more than one shot, right?
That's right. Impossible to do so.
But I think, as we find our niche or what our calling is, and we lean into that, whether it is a particular element or a particular modality of shamanic work, that we can become master craftsmen in that particular field within the umbrella of heathenry, within the umbrella of Wicca, within the umbrella of paganism, right?
Absolutely.
So yeah, you've actually done a really good job of sharing like what your modality is and how you are trying to create connection and community. So that's amazing. Can you tell us what sort of social media or websites, or how is it that you engage with the public and grow your community?
Well, we have the Facebook group. That is our primary method of communication. And the Facebook group is Runestone Heathens of Southwest Ohio. We do have an email address. The email address is runestoneheathens@gmail.com. And I am the primary one that monitors the email. So there may occasionally be a delay if you email. You can also reach out to me directly. I am more than happy to talk about things with anybody because I enjoy discussing it. I enjoy answering questions. But as we grow and expand, we are finding that we're going to have to add some other things. So my admin group and I, we've been working out what that's going to look like. So in the next few months, we might be rolling out a blog of some kind. I don't know about a web page yet, but there's talk about it. And there's talk about formalizing the group as well into something so that we can continue the mission of what the group is.
Right.
Because we're getting to the point, we have almost 300 members now, and it's to the point where we actually need to do more than just HeidiBeth doing the organizing.
Yeah,
so
no.
I have a team now of 6 people that help me, and we've been working on those future things. We have a camping trip coming up this summer that we're taking as a group, a weekend camping trip over the weekend that follows the solstice in June.
Yeah.
And you'll see various members of us at different things. I've got some workshops that I'm teaching. I've got one coming up at the Dayton Psychic Fair.
Oh, okay, great.
Yeah, and I'm going to teach one at Witch in the Woods, and we always are at Dayton Pagan Pride, but we're looking for other places to provide that information so that others can come and learn and grow a little bit more with everything. So watch for more social media to become available as we develop more people who are willing to assist with that.
Yes, absolutely. That's one of the mistakes I made in the beginning, was thinking that I could handle all of the moving parts on my own. It's a short road to burnout if you think that you can do it without help, for sure. So good for you for recognizing that early in the game.
I've seen a couple of heathens who've gotten very, very famous on YouTube, and their organizations have had some significant problems because they didn't invest in an infrastructure so that
Yeah.
they could grow and not run into problems.
Well, and
So
each of us has our own areas of strength and weakness, right? So as a
yes,
team, we can cover all of the bases from a place of strength
absolutely.
instead of, being strong in one area and sort of back paddling to throw it together in another area,
Right.
Yeah, and it guards your sanity and your ability to practice self-care, which is super important when we walk this path, because you can't pour from an empty cup, right?
No, you cannot.
Okay, let's see. I don't think there's really anything that we haven't talked about. Has there been a particular aha moment or some memory that stands out to you on this path where you were just like, yeah, this is it, I'm convinced?
Oh, pretty much every time I get together with the community, I have that moment.
Yeah.
We had our first gathering back right before COVID started,
Right.
and it was only 10 people. And yet at that moment, I went, this is exactly what I'm supposed to be doing. And every time we have a monthly meetup, we call it a moot. That's what heathens have their own little terms.
Sure.
That's one of the terms. And every time we have one, you meet new people and they tell you their stories, and you listen, and you realize that what you're doing is really making a difference.
Yes.
None of us get into this because we want to be famous. I have no desire to be known for anything other than opening up a path for others to find their own greatness.
Yes.
So seeing that happen, that's my aha moment every time.
Yes, absolutely. I totally feel you there. It is those moments that you're like, okay, I remember now why I'm doing all.
Yes, exactly.
All right, so we're going to drop links in the comments below the video of how everyone can reach out to HeidiBeth and find her on social media. Is there any one thing that we have not covered that you would like to talk about before we wrap up this interview?
Oh, I could talk about so many things, but no, just be sure that if you're interested at all in Norse paganism, you check out the group, because we have people who are scholars in there who are up on the newest information talking about it. And we have newbies who are starting programs for people who don't know anything at all. And then we also have a whole musical program. My husband is a skald, which is the heathen version of a court play, a bard.
A bard, yes.
And he is starting a program for people who are interested in learning the magical musical path of Norse heathenry. And then I also have a women's magic group. We get together twice a month, and it's focused strictly on Northern European magical practices. So just check us out, because
lots of moving parts even
yeah,
within your one group. So that's fantastic. Lots of opportunities for people to network and to learn and to be in community and find support. So
yep, absolutely.
Yeah, amazing. It's always a pleasure to watch someone that I have shared sacred space with blow up in a really big way, and you are doing that.
Well, and I'm grateful to you. So absolutely, your showing of how a path can be walked has always helped. So thank you.
Well, it's messy, but we just do it, right? And we laugh our way through it. And
yes, or cry and laugh at the same time.
Yeah, with the occasional 4-letter word thrown in just for good measure.
Heck yeah.
And actually I'll get with you later, but I wouldn't mind doing another one of those campouts, because we did one a couple of years ago that
Yes, we
wasn't
did.
necessarily related to your group or mine specifically, but we kind of got a few people together who are just in community here and did that, and it was super fun. So
oh, and it's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to have some workshops. We're going to have some setups for kids to do some things. So it'll be a whole lot of fun. Yeah.
Yeah, and hopefully many less raccoons this time.
Or skunks.
Oh yeah. All righty. Well, I guess that's it for our 30 minutes, folks. Thank you so much, HeidiBeth, for joining me this afternoon. Thank you, everyone out there who has been watching on Facebook or who will watch this broadcast in the future. Next week, I'm going to be interviewing Morgan Hornman, who is in charge of Grove of the Gods podcast on YouTube, and also has his own show, The Morgan Hornman Show, on Facebook, putting a masculine face to paganism. He is a devotee of Pan, so we will be discussing with him all things magical and Greek gods and whatever he wants to share with us.
I will be watching that one for sure. I love Morgan.
I know, I love him too. A note for all of you who have not seen the post. I did sit for an interview with Morgan for Grove of the Gods. It came out this morning at 8 a.m. on YouTube. There is a link on my page if you would like to take a look at that. It is an hour and 15 minutes long, so grab yourself a cup of tea. But I was super surprised and proud when I had the chance to view it this morning. It actually turned out very well. So I'm happy to be sharing that with you guys. And I'll be happy to interview Morgan, tradesies next week on the show. So until then, have a very magical day. This is Witchy Wednesdays at 1. I love you like mad. We will see you on the other side. Have a great day.
Aromagees Botanica, a metaphysical store for mind, body, and spirit. Oils, herbs, candles, crystals, teas, handmade soaps, tarot cards, everything you need on your magical journey. Daily psychic and tarot readings, classes, witchcraft, pagan, and hoodoo supplies, most of it made in-house. Try our free Dress Your Own candle station. From spiritual gifts to ritual supplies to religious books, we have the widest selection of metaphysical products in all of Tennessee since 1999. It is our goal to inspire everyone to explore their spirituality in their own way by offering information and products in a nurturing multicultural environment. Open 7 days a week. 223 Donaldson Pike, Nashville, Tennessee, or visit us online at aromagees.com.